Good afternoon. 8 days after the 2022 election, we learned that a measure we had advocated for passed by a margin of less than 1%. I'm Kim Knox, president of the League of Women Voters of San Diego, and this is a story about the power of participatory democracy. The League of Women Voters, a nonpartisan political organization, encourages informed and active participation in government, works to increase understanding of major public policy issues, and influences public policy through education and advocacy. A major part of the League's success in passing Measure B is due to Ruth Sandvin, Sustainability and Environmental Action Chair, Beryl Flom, past president and 50-year League member, and Rick Anthony of Zero Waste San Diego. Beryl and Rick are involved with San Diego's County's Citizens Advisory Committee for Integrated Waste Management. For more than a decade, Beryl reminded League members about the unfair situation with the People's Ordinance at our annual meetings to prioritize issues. San Diego was the only municipality in the state that provided no-fee trash collection for some of its residents, but required others to purchase those services from private companies. That's because the People's Ordinance, which required city forces to handle trash collection, was amended in 1981 to specify that fees could not be charged for homes on public streets. Short-term vacation rentals, accessory dwelling units, and mini dorms also received no-fee service. Due to the expansion of recycling and green waste pickup service, costs increased significantly, but the city could not charge those receiving trash service. $58 million a year was being spent on trash collection out of the city's general fund, which is primarily used to pay for services that benefit the collective good, like parks, libraries, and public safety. The People's Ordinance was inequitable because community members in apartments, condos, and homes on private streets had to pay private haulers to collect and dispose of their trash. And through their contributions to the general fund, they also supported the no-fee service received by others. Cost recovery for trash services would free up millions of dollars from the general fund that could be used for services to benefit all community members equally. To quote Rick Anthony, the easiest way to reduce greenhouse gas emissions is to get yard waste and food waste out of the landfill. The city was unable to influence recycling behavior in homes they serve because they could not use volume-based pricing, as all other cities in the county do. When fees for green waste, food waste, and recycling are lower than trash fees, people have an economic incentive to reduce, reuse, recycle, repair, and repurpose. Cities that collect fees for trash hauling are able to provide additional services such as education and outreach, free bin replacement, and pickup services for bulky items. These services tend to enhance participation and prevent illegal dumping. Since 2007, the League has written letters to the City Council and met with council members about reforming the People's Ordinance. But for years, no one was willing to bring it forward because they feared voters would think of it as a new tax. Finally, in 2021, it was added to the Environment Committee work plan by new committee chair, Councilmember Sean Elo Rivera. That happened after early polling was done to see if a ballot measure was viable, and if so, what voters saw as the benefits and the downsides. 7 or 8 iterations of the poll were done, with different objectives to see how people responded to the language. That polling was funded by the Municipal Employees Association, whose members include city trash forces. That summer, as the SB 1383 deadline for green waste pickup approached, the League wrote letters to the editor of the San Diego Union Tribune and to the City Council Environment Committee. When the issue of exploring a ballot measure came before the Environment Committee, the Union Tribune published an editorial saying, "It's time for a public vote on the repeal of the 1919 law." League members, accompanied by Rick Anthony, met with Councilmember Elo Rivera and learned that Councilmember LaCava had agreed to second it, which was gutsy in a midterm election. A year ago, Ruth Sandvin and I spoke at the Zero Waste Symposium, inviting organizations to join our People's Ordinance Reform Task Force. Partners included Zero Waste San Diego, Climate Action Campaign, the Sierra Club, San Diego 350, San Diego Coastkeeper, and more. We held bi-weekly Zoom meetings, which culminated in group letters and testimony for the Rules Committee and City Council meetings. We wrote a white paper and fact sheet and lobbied council members. Cody Hooven, the campaign coordinator, said the coalition was helpful on this complicated fiscal issue, as members were able to explain to voters how the general fund works. Despite popular belief, trash services were not included as a special tax in property tax bills. Condo owners paid the same property tax rate as homeowners in houses, but only single-family homes on public streets received no-fee unlimited trash collection. On July 25, a press conference was held with representatives from several organizations asking the City Council to vote in support of a ballot measure. The proposed amendment specified that the cost of bins would be included if a fee for trash services was levied, so residents would no longer have to pay a standalone fee for bins. It would need a simple majority to pass, since there would be no immediate fee increase, not the 2/3 needed for a specific purpose tax increase. In accordance with Prop 218, a cost of service study would be conducted by an outside consultant, and any eventual fees could not exceed the costs, and they would require approval by the City Council. Later that day, after hearing testimony from our coalition and others, the City Council voted 7-2 to put it on the ballot. Known as Measure B, the ballot argument was signed by Council President Elo Rivera, Council Member and then Chair of the Environment Committee, Joe LaCava, Nicole Capretz of Climate Action Campaign, and myself. The League of Women Voters put on an event called Trash Talk, Why San Diegans Should Vote Yes on Measure B, featuring Council President Elo Rivera, Michael Zucchet of the Municipal Employees Association, and Lauren Caceres of the San Diego Regional Chamber of Commerce. The measure was also endorsed by the Democratic Party and Community Budget Alliance. It was opposed by the San Diego County Taxpayers Association and Carl DeMaio. The city's independent budget analyst estimated monthly fees of $23 to $29 per home, which is similar to fees charged by peer cities. The campaign was run by campaign manager Cody Hooven and campaign consultant Ryan Klumpner. It included canvassing, yard signs, phone calls, and direct mail, which was incredibly expensive. It was funded by the Municipal Employees Association, other labor unions, and individual contributions through Sean Elo Rivera's ballot measure committee. According to Cody, the concept of fairness really resonated with people, although someone would always say, "I pay property taxes." The concept we had to convey was that everyone pays property taxes, but only some benefit from the service. Sadly, she said, environmental concerns were considered to a much smaller extent. Ryan said this was because it was a time of high inflation and high gas prices, which causes people to care more about economic issues and less about the environment. Ryan also said that people who immediately supported it often cited fairness as the reason, but those who were not initially convinced to vote yes required other messaging. He said Democratic voters in multifamily housing already had such a high level of support, there wasn't much room to raise it. So they focused direct mail more on Republicans and Republican-adjacent voters, a lot of single-family homeowners who could be moved from 30 to 36%, with messaging focused on the frustrating experiences with bin replacement. With a resource-challenged campaign, they had to use funds efficiently. Toward the end, they did a substantial amount of advertising via YouTube videos, which were more preventative, appealing to the groups already polling at 70% or higher. And with digital, we're able to hit a large number of these people very cost-effectively. Ryan said the biggest challenge was convincing insiders this was possible. There was such an ingrained belief that you couldn't touch the People's Ordinance. At the first Rules Committee hearing, Council members Whitburn and Campillo said that they weren't going to vote for it at the second hearing. Privately, they were saying they needed to see polling. Michael Zucchet of the Municipal Employees Association played an important role in convincing them it was possible. Much to our surprise, the San Diego Union Tribune editorial board flip-flopped, recommending a no vote on Measure B, after previously calling to, quote, dump this outdated trash law, unquote. Beryl Flom and I wrote letters to the editor supporting Measure B, which were published the following week. Ryan said it was evidence of the perverse, self-fulfilling cycle that we're stuck with on many issues in San Diego. The newspaper will print front-page stories about how bad the situation is and how it will never change, which brings out the opponents. Despite trailing on Election Day and for a week following, Measure B ultimately passed by a slim margin. We are hopeful it will bring about a more just, modern, and sustainable means of waste collection. To everyone who voted for Measure B or promoted it, thank you for your support in getting this done.